into, I guess, what we would call at this stage in time alternative medicine. I had gone for a second opinion before my first surgery to another doctor here in DC, and he had mentioned that something like PRP, platelet-rich plasma, might be an option. He works with NBA players, and he said that he had seen some success with that. But we're sort of in a holding pattern. Let's get through this first surgery and see what other options then are available after that. So from a tip-off from someone at my gym, I decided to talk to this gym owner in Alexandria who had apparently undergone stem cell procedures for her knee. And she told me that she was back to lifting, back to back squatting her regular amounts pre-injury. I think she's a national masters weightlifter. So I was thinking like, yes, this is great. This is what I want. She recommended a doctor to me who is up in Annapolis, Maryland. So I went up, saw him, had a consultation with him. He was very candid, and he said, you know, he could do this procedure called BMAC, which is bone marrow aspirate concentrate. Let me check that too. I should have checked all this before I started the video. Bone marrow aspirate stem cell concentrate. Bone marrow aspirate stem cell concentrate, BMAC. And so what they do in this procedure is they withdraw bone marrow from your pelvis and they centrifuge it so that you get out all of the material that's in your bone marrow that is not stem cell. And so then it's this concentrated form, and what he would do is just inject it kind of generically into the knee. He would inject part of it into the bone so that you kind of like force it to leak out again. So it's similar to the microfracture, except they're not actually drilling holes into your bone. Plus. And then he also wanted just to do another injection to the knee writ large because, as he put it, my knee was on the X and we need to get it off the X. He's a former Navy SEAL. The problem with that, I guess scientifically speaking, is that there's not a lot of science backing it. Anyways, it's not widely practiced. And so with these stem cells from your bone marrow, they are undifferentiated. So you can kind of like go out and become what they become. They're undifferentiated. And so when you're putting them in a site like your knee, I guess so far with medicine today, we just haven't developed a good way to make sure that they differentiate into the specific tissue that we want. So we could inject it into my knee and hope it turns into articular cartilage, but there's a possibility that it might not. And he was very candid about the likelihood of this being able to return me to previous activity. And so throughout this whole stage, doctors have been telling me I will never return to training like I used to train. And that's been obviously very disappointing. But I have talked to a number of people who had similar diagnoses. They're doing pretty well. They are returning to Frisbee, they are returning to weightlifting. So I don't know if it's a way that I don't know if the doctors are saying that because they need to protect themselves for liability. That's kind of maybe a cynical view, or maybe they're used to these procedures in older patients and they're not as used to seeing this in young, active, strong people who could potentially recover faster. I don't know. But anyways, this is becoming very long. I wanted this video to be short and succinct, so I'll start trying to get to the point. So this doctor in Annapolis did reach out to other specialists in the field because I guess it is kind of a small community, and he called me the next day and he said there's actually a doctor that has had success with BMAC on lesions of your size, since my lesion in my knee is quite big. And he said, this doctor is in Milan, Italy. And I was like, go on. So this doctor's in Milan, Italy, and the kind of kicker with it, if you want to call it that, is that you need to promise to be there for 6 weeks for the post-operation treatment, which is part of the success of this whole procedure. So I was going back and forth, like, is that ridiculous? To, take off work for 6 weeks, withdraw from school, go do this procedure. On the one hand, yeah, it is ridiculous. That's like a big disruption to life. On the other hand, you're stuck with this knee for the rest of your life. You're an active person. You're 33. There are many, many more years of activity and, physical benchmarks I want to hit. So I was weighing that, and I kind of took the Christmas break to assess it and was thinking, I just don't think I can do that. and I was in this place of not really knowing what to do. I had no further clarity on what direction I wanted to take it. So on Christmas Day, actually, I was sitting here at home just researching this Italian doctor, Dr. Gobi, online a little bit more. I'd read some of his peer-reviewed publications, and it made so much sense to me. I have no medical background, so I'm not saying that it made sense to me as a medical practitioner, but just in terms of the science and the logic behind it, it made sense to me. So on Christmas Day, when I was Googling, I actually found a National Institute of Health backed clinical trial currently ongoing in the States right now. And the principal investigator of this trial is Dr. Gobi, the Italian doctor. They're doing this trial in 11 locations around the world. I think about like 7 of those locations are here in the United States. So you can imagine my excitement. Kind of went crazy and then just started emailing everyone, like all of the points of contact in the study. And actually the study sponsor responded immediately, and they're like, actually we are not allowed to have direct contact with anyone that participates in the study, which makes sense. But I think just, goes to show how puppy excited I was about this. I shared this information with my surgeon. He happened to know the surgeon in Connecticut. He asked if I would like him to reach out to the doctor in Connecticut for me. I obviously said yes, and I got a call a few days ago from the doctor's office in Connecticut, and it looks like I'm going to participate in this clinical trial. So that is very exciting. So this clinical trial will be seeking to compare this new BMAC procedure as practiced in Italy. So it's different than how the doctor here in Annapolis would have done it, because they basically take a mesh scaffold, put the concentrated bone marrow stem cells into it, and cut that to the right size of the pothole in your knee. So they're comparing that procedure with microfracture, which is that first procedure I mentioned where they drill holes into your knee. So the test is randomized. I don't get to know which procedure I will get, but my calculation is that I was going to get a procedure anyways, and right now the state of my knee is just untenable. It's not something I want to keep living with. I can't even go downstairs. My big goal is to get back up on my bike and start bike commuting. I mean, I would eventually love to return to CrossFit and return to weightlifting. I would like to be competitive in weightlifting. That was a big goal I had for 2019. So I'm not writing anything off yet. I'm also trying to be realistic about expectations so that I don't get too depressed during this whole situation. I will keep everyone updated on how this clinical trial goes, what my recovery is like, what the timelines are for the trial, and basically I just want to keep everyone posted on how this is going. I was thinking also I would start to do some videos on my training so that people can see how I'm modifying CrossFit workouts, probably branch out into other workouts, so that if you're in the same situation, you can also start modifying workouts and continue to be fit. Talking to friends even who have just, rolled ankles and things like that. I think it's easy to fall into the trap of when you're injured thinking that you can't do anything, and getting really down about that. I've learned over the past 2.5 months, almost 3 months now, that you still can do a lot of movements. You have to modify it, obviously, and I'm still struggling with trying to figure out how to really feel like an athlete still, how to be in shape with this injury. I'm hoping that through this process of vlogging and connecting with other people who are in similar situations, that we can just kind of help each other out and still enjoy being fit. So that concludes my video for today. If people have any questions, or if people have things that they would specifically like me to focus on, I'd be happy to talk about any and all of that. Plan on bringing my camera to some workouts that I do, and sharing that. So thanks for watching.